All right, let's try this again. It just cut out. So I don't. There's like a bad connection at like I said, there's a wire coming out here from the USB to the camera, and if like there's any motion at all, and sometimes it'll just kick out. So that's what happened there. So I gotta be very careful not to move anything on this side of the. So let me move that there. Let me move that there. We should be okay. All right, take two. So where were we? Oh, Tom Muse, what's happening in here, man? Uh, Buffalo Campbell, congrats on 200,000. Yes, we hit 200,000 this morning, and thank you to everybody who subbed and contributed to that. We really appreciate it. Yeah, Zach, this room's going to get a lava lamp. Trust me. By the time I'm done, like decorating this room, getting it to where I want it to be, yeah, it'll be lava lamps and like tinsel and blinking lights. It'll be all kinds of crazy shit. It'll be nuts. UT, have you ever worked on a Henry J? I have not. I have not. Vincent Lopez from Arizona. What's happening, brother, man? Dakota, I like this channel so much. I'm subbed to it almost 10 times. Well, there you go, Dakota. Thank you. You've done it, right? You're the guy who drove us over the top. I think we're like 200,000, like 130 now or something like that. J. Russell Finch, calling all of your subs to send $1. No, I don't want to do stuff like that. I mean, maybe we could do something with like a special, like a fundraiser. And we're gonna be doing some fundraiser stuff. I feel it's like it's your responsibility if you're making money or in a situation like this that you really should try to funnel some of the goodwill of your audience towards different causes. So, all right, Zero, what's happening, man? John Wilburn is here. Tommy's, man, that last video really stirred the pot on today's parts, bro. It's sickening. I mean, it's crazy. The latest thing, right? I have a battery. So when I needed batteries, right, I went over to Pull Apart because they take them out of cars, and the batteries are generally like, because there'll be a sticker on it. They'll say when the battery was new. So I grabbed one, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, and the sticker on the battery said that it went into service in November of last year. It was November 20. Okay, so this battery is now December, January, February, March. The battery's 10 months old, right? So I went to go. I put it on my wrecker, and the charging system is fine. Everything's good, and it was dead, just absolutely dead. I put the charger on it. Charger sat for, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes. Tick, 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 tick. I get nothing out of it. The battery is just stone cold dead. So it's like you just can't get a break. Unfortunately, I guess I bought this one for Pull Apart, but it's like I can't return it to where it came from. But I mean, regardless of whether it came from Pull Apart or it came straight out the store, the thing was only 10 months old from the time it was brand new. So what do you do? Harley Hawk, I've had car batteries that fry like that in 3 months. Yeah, junk. They're all hit and miss even when fresh. Doug Narden, could that Cloy's timing gear be welded? I wouldn't trust it. Yeah, you don't want to heat car. The heat will warp it. A timing gear, especially a timing gear, right, is a interference fit, meaning that like it doesn't slide on and off, shouldn't slide on and off, because then it'll wear as the engine is running. So it's got to be a solid fit, and it's not supposed to be a press fit either. So because heat would cause some warpage, some distortion on that, and no, that's a no-go. But that's why I just ordered a new one. Kuzivlevich, you made it 200,000. Yes, we finally made it to 200,000. Thank you all. I appreciate it. It's a cool milestone. It's a cool milestone. Fede Leon, I think a crack like that in a compromised piece like a timing gear is not worth the thing. Could be a disaster. Maybe, yeah, it could be a disaster. Charlton Zimmerman went through bad batteries in 2015 from AutoZone. Made in Spain. Ford has had a bad one of them also. Right? there is no end to the failures of things. And if you go through other people's channels, you see the same thing. That, well, pardon me, and what's happening, brother? Greg Gill, did I get any of the floodwaters? No, that's pretty tragic, right? The floodwaters were probably, I don't know, about 60 miles west of us, north and west of us, between here and Jackson. Yeah, that's a shame. It was, I think it was in Waverly. There was a guy that he was talking about. He was working on a Dollar General. Yeah, I can't imagine a flash flood happening this fast, but it did. He said he was working in a Dollar General, and he looked at the ground, and there was water coming in from under the door. And before he could even process the thought, the water was up to his neck. And he was able to swim out, but he doesn't know if anybody else that was in the store was able to swim out. So it was a tragic situation. Thank you, Rock23. Thank you. I appreciate that. Dylan Bruneau, my buddy's Duster had a timing gear fail in a huge way. Broke into 5 or 6 pieces. Yeah, that could make a real mess of things. Ruslan, thank you, sir. I have a joke for you. What do you get when you put salt next to a battery? Here's some slush fund money. When you put salt next to a battery? I don't know. Does anybody get that? Adam Cheslaw, thanks for introducing me to the Southeast Gassers. Myself, daughter, and father-in-law all had a blast watching them in Radford yesterday. First time ever at a drag strip. Congratulations! I'm glad you enjoyed it. They put on a fantastic show. Now, I guess you guys are hooked, right? You'll be back for more? Hey, UT, spark plugs for old muscle cars. Copper, platinum, iridium. I mean, copper is fine. You know, I mean, the spark plugs on those cars were as rudimentary as it could possibly be, and they functioned just fine. They worked fine in 1969. They'll work fine today. But yeah, I mean, a copper plug, not wrong with using a copper plug. Bruce Jones, I was at my first drag race at a track the other day. I've been missing. Yeah, right. Oh, a salt and battery. Okay, what happens when you put a salt next to a battery? You get a salt and battery. Or does that go dunk dunk? Mexican spec. Why would a manufacturer ever make an interference engine? What benefit does that serve? Well, I mean, it's neither a benefit or I mean, in a perfect world where nothing ever snaps or breaks, there's nothing wrong with an interference engine. All it means, interference engine only means that if the timing chain or belt was to fail, and while the engine is still rotating, the pistons will hit the valves, whatever valve is open at the time. So that's what an interference engine means. Interference engines in and of themselves, I mean, honestly, almost everything is an interference engine. There's very few engines where when the piston is at top dead center and the intake or the exhaust valve is full open, where they won't make contact. You know, so but that the interference engine just became a thing because when timing belts became popular, when timing belts became the norm, when something was an interference engine, it just meant don't let that thing go to where it snaps. You know what I mean? Then you're definitely gonna have a problem. So that's all. I mean, engines have been interference engines forever, but it became the designation once timing belts became standard. Let's see. Woodmill Garage, what are you doing for 200,000 subs? I don't know. What does 200,000 subs want from me? I do everything I can. I keep sending videos. Neutral drop garage doors and I handle interference engines. But yes, Kathy said the same thing. What are we doing for 200,000 subs? I don't know. I don't really know how you celebrate something like that. When we hit 100,000, YouTube sent us a nice plaque, a nice silver plaque. And once we get to 1 million, we'll have the gold plaque. But in between, there's like, but I mean, that number changes. That number is always going up and always going down. You don't really pay attention because they don't show you on YouTube, where it'll just say channel has 165,000 subs, but it doesn't show you that on any given day it'll lose 500, and then the next day it picks up 300. Then it really starts to become confusing, but that's the way it is. Like, I'm over 200,000 today. Tomorrow I could be back to 199.5 or whatever it happens to be, because periodically YouTube goes through and it audits the subs. So like for instance, there are people who subscribe and then their accounts go dormant for however many. All the subscription number means is that over the course of your channel's life, that many people have seen one of your videos and said, I like this guy, and they hit subscribe. It doesn't mean they'll ever be back. It just means that at that moment in time, they approved of your overall thing. So that's what the subscriber number means. It really doesn't have any true significance. Like, there's no monetary bonus. It's not really even an indication of how many views a video will get. Although what I have found, if you got your own YouTube channels, and like you're curious, like, what does 200,000 subs mean? What I have found, and what kind of holds true, is that you'll get approximately 10% of your sub number in views on the first day you put out a video, and that's on an average. So some days you'll put, so you got 200,000 subs, you got 200,000 subs. So one day I may get 17,000 views the first day. The next day I may get 30,000 views the first day. The next day I'll get 19,000 views. So, but it'll average out to be approximately 20,000 views, which is 10% of 200,000. And that's held true since we first got started. Like, when we had like 1,000 subs a day, or 1,000 subs, we'd get like 100 views. We put out a video and we get 100 views that day. When we had 10,000 subs, you know what I'm saying? When we had 100,000 subs, we put out a video and we get 10,000 views a day. So now we have 200,000 subs and we get about roughly 20,000 views when we put out a video for the first time. Rosalind, what really matters is the bell. Yes, that's true. That's true. Desert Ranch Girl, ever watch Pakistan Truck on YouTube? Check out. No, tell me what that's about. Tell me what that's about. Mr. Dirty, what was your first video? Our first video was one that we did it'll be 3 years ago, September. Well, actually, next week will be our 3rd anniversary of doing videos. We actually started doing videos in September 2018. That was like when we started the channel, like several months, probably even close to a year earlier than that, but we never posted anything on it. And then in September of 2018, we put our first couple of videos up. And the very first one I did was everything you need to know about an Edelbrock carburetor in under a minute. And that was pretty good. That we got a lot of play on Facebook. I got over 1 million views on Facebook. It didn't get too many views here. And then we did Radiator Hack, right? Which is, those videos are still up. If you're curious, you want to see how cringeworthy, right, I was at the very beginning of all this stuff, feel free to check them out. They're still up. Let's see. FF, you got a super chat here from FF. Hey Tony, I've been shopping for a body with a slant six for a project. Any advice on best year? If you really want to maximize your slant six experience, try to find a 66 and earlier, 1960 through 1966 A body, because they were a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower, a little bit lighter than the 67 and up cars. There's like an average like 300 or 400 pound difference between the 66 and the 67. So if you're looking to maximize your slant, and also you can get those cars cheapest out of all of them, because like the status seekers, the guys who are looking for the high status cars and stuff, they don't generally go for the pre-66s. So you can get really good deals on like 63, 4, 5, 6, first and second generation A bodies. First being like the 60 to 63, the Frog cars, and then the 63 60 to 62 rather, Valiants and Lancers, and then 63 to 66 Dodges, Darts, Barracudas, Valiants. Those are your best cars. That's where you're going to find your biggest bang for the buck. Drag Boss Garage, what's happening, brother, man? How are you? Let's see. Green Bean, follow up to the 100 shot on a stock big block Ford. How strong is a stock Ford 9-inch with a mini spool, 3,900 pounds, 325 gear, C63 speed shut? No, don't worry about it. Send it. Send it. Bruce Jones, what fenders fit a 71 Demon? 70 and 71 Dodge Dart. Those will have the right marker lights. You could use a 72, but it'll have the plastic mounted, the plastic above mount marker lights. But 70 and 71 will have the inset ones, the recessed ones. Nick Burnett, I'm sorry. Uncle Tony, sophomore in college here. You're trying to let me live vicariously through you working on cars. Thank you. I mean, you can't find any outlet for getting out and working on your own. But either way, I appreciate you enjoying it. I want to go back and try to find about the Pakistani. I'm fascinated by how other Pakistanis can rewind I'm always fascinated by what foreigners do, especially what foreigners do with American cars. You know, I mean, obviously Cuba is the classic example, but if you really want, like, you look at what the Japanese have done, because the Japanese love American cars and love hot rod culture, and they've taken all of the things that, like, our cliche stuff and turned it into like this high art form. It's always interesting how the rest of the world views our hot rod culture. Iran. A lot of people don't realize it. People think of the Middle East. They think of like places like Iran or Iraq. They think of it as being we hate Americans, death to America. But that's the government. That's not the people. Like, for instance, in Iran, there's a huge American car culture scene, and they get together. They have all their American cars, and they have these cruise nights, and they dress like Americans, and they listen to American music, and it's crazy, right? But the Iranian people love 1960s, 1970s American car culture. Need metal. Got a couple of clean runs with Bottle Rocket. Get a couple of clean runs with Bottle Rocket, and do a set of heads for it with Vizard over the winter. We could. I mean, I don't think, honestly, I don't think you'll be able to improve on the heads that are on it, to be perfectly honest with you. Fubar just put up a link to Pakistan truck. Man, I can't watch that right now. I want to watch that. I just saw a post on Facebook. Again, it's like the Chinese people are always like, Chinese hate us. The Chinese people don't hate us. I just saw a post on Facebook from a guy who exports LS motors to China. And they build their Chinese hot rods using American LS motors. And he had just sent over a Hellcat. And the Hellcat is going in a Jeep. They're building a hot rod Jeep in China with American Hellcat stuff. And there's a guy who imports American hot rod stuff to China. So, it's like, pay no attention to what the governments say and like the talking heads on the news and all of this stuff. Because what the governments say and what the people say are two completely different things. Olive, yeah, I've heard that actual folks on Iran are generally wicked friendly. Yes, I mean, I've met Iranians. I used to have a customer in New York, one of my car customers, with an Iranian family. They're the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. Mitten made muscle. They do hate us. They just love what we have. History does not like, bro. I'm telling you, man. Don't confuse government and the talking heads. You know what I mean? The propaganda with the word of the people. You know what I mean? It's two completely different. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's your perfect example. Here's your perfect example. Okay, everybody universally, right? You go, China, China, China. China's ripping us off. They're sending us shit. They're out to get us. They're out to sink us, right? The whole 10 yards. But how many times a week do you eat Chinese food, right? How many times a week do you go to a Chinese restaurant, right? It's delicious. Everybody loves it. You go to the supermarket. There's Wen Chung in the right? There's no hatred there, right? You go to a Chinese restaurant. Do you have animosity towards the guys stir frying the stuff in the back? You know, are they sneering at you while they're cooking the food? No, man. See, that's the thing. It's like, forget about what the government's doing. Forget about what trade is, and forget all that other stuff. And just think about what our people and their people are like. And it's only the governments that get in the way. And you know, they force. If we don't hate them and they don't hate us, you know what I mean? It's like the government has no power. The government has no power. UT, have you ever heard of the Japanese dodgy bands? Yeah, The dodgy bands are a great example, right? They road race. Motorcycle road racing is a huge thing in Japan, and these guys, like, their status symbol for hauling around their motorcycles were these Dodge B Series vans. So they started racing the vans in between, like, you know, they in between the motorcycle races, they would race their tow vehicles. And then it became a huge thing. And now Dajiban, they call them Dajiban. The Dajiban is its own racing series, and it's all specialized stuff. And it's road racing Dodge vans. It's the Kickendell. He has arrived, and all is well now. AT, thank you for that. Greetings from the UK. Tony, last week we talked about Rockbox, Avengers, and Crickets. Our 72 Avenger had rust on the roof in a few weeks. What do you think was the most rust-prone car ever? Oh, God, there's so many of them. That's hard to say. And you see, I came from New York City, so, like, I mean, they were everything had giant rust holes by the time it was like 4 or 5 years old. They didn't really start getting into galvanizing and all of that with the metals until like the middle 70s to the end of the 70s. Then they really started to get tight on clamping down on the rust, but even that didn't help. Most rust-prone cars ever, Volkswagen Bugs were terrible. The whole front end would rot out around the front suspension. The Datsun Z cars were horrible with rust. But again, you see, different cars will rust differently in different places depending on what they're exposed to. Like, for instance, New York would salt the roads, okay, and so anything where salt got kicked up, right, where the heaviest where snow got kicked up, and would coat the underside of the car would rust. Other places like Pennsylvania use brine. The brine is even worse because the brine isn't it's finer, right? It actually gets into more places, deeper places. Cars that come from like the Gulf Coast, like Florida, you know, in that area, right? They'll rust from the top down. You'll find those things have rusty roofs where because the tops of the fenders, tops of the quarter panels, because the salt water condensation gathers in those areas and it rots those things from the top down. I have one car that came from Kansas that has crazy rust, has weird rust on it, right? And the reason for that was dust, because Kansas has some parts of Kansas have a really fine dust, and that dust finds its way into like nooks and crannies. Condensation grabs onto it, holds it against the metal, and it rusts it from the inside. So you get rust in weird places. So they different places have different types of rust. D. Scott, rust in New York City was so bad I used to see trucks cut out rust and replace it with diamond plate. Yeah, it was common. Mr. Will, Hey, Tony, do you plan or want to pick up a project from the Great Texas Horde? No, I don't. Steve did the videos for it. Would love to see you do a car from the 50s. I wouldn't mind doing a car from the 50s, but it would have to be something that somebody brings me. I'm not buying any more cars. I'm really over my limit. Mr. Dirty, I love working on cars here in Vegas. Never have a problem taking stuff apart. It was rough in New York. Being a mechanic in New York, like especially like you dealing with like 10-year-old cars, 12-year-old cars like that, uh, the undercarriage rust, every bolt was rounded and just brittle. I mean, horrible. See, down here in Tennessee, you get underneath these cars and they're actually cleaner underneath than they are on the top. Nothing sticks. It's all good. Like, for instance, I take a Tennessee car, like let's say a 70 Dart, okay, and I got to take the K-frame out. There's never an issue, right? You undo the control arm bolts, because they're on the eccentric, and they pop right out, right? In New York, you'd have to cut them, you know what I mean? Because there was no way, once they were in there and in there for 2-3 years, they were never coming out in one piece again. You couldn't even do an effective alignment on those cars. So it's like two completely different animals. Working on, if you got to hunt for a car to work on, a project car to work on, you definitely want to get it in this zone. This is like a sweet spot that runs from the Carolinas through Tennessee, through like Arkansas and Oklahoma, right? That there's like a sweet zone, Above it, you've got the Gulf Stream and all of the snow and salt and everything else, and below it you have the Gulf and all of their crazy weather, always crazy humid and everything. But you got the sweet zone where you've got really good, solid, relatively rust-free cars right through the middle of the country. Let's see. Tony got right into it while I was typing. I don't know what you were saying. 426 Rich, what's happening, brother? AT, I'm about 5 miles from the sea here. Rust is stand on at anything pre-85. And pre-80, it's a brush and shovel job. Sills, doors, floors, take your pick. Oh man. Yeah. Brit cars were always, extremely rusty. In New York, minis were popular. I used to work on a lot of minis and stuff. Land Rovers were popular, and they were all rusted really, really bad. MGs, midgets and all, terrible. Michael Benolio, did you ever see how those guys on the Van Wyck or the Parkway strip a car in minutes? I may have known many of those guys. Jason Fish, didn't British cars come with factory smoke in the wires? Yeah, Lucas packaged the smoke into those wires. Lucas, the Prince of Darkness. Let's see. Wow, your doorknob's rusted in New Jersey. Brick cars were out to seltzer. Bronco McBain can't strip a car on the Van Wyck. No, on the side. Under the Gowanus. That was a big place for stripping cars. 318 more run. I feel for the flood victims in your state. I haven't heard very much about. I haven't been paying attention to the news. I just haven't been on. But yeah, that's tragic. What happened in Waverly? Brad G, $10. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, Bronco, the Gowanus was the place. Now I remember when I was a teenager building, like, my first cars and whatnot. When you wanted muscle car parts, that's what you want. I cannot tell you how many 8 3/4 center sections. I was like 15, 16 years old. Me and my buddies, we were on Staten Island, and we drive over the bridge and just cruise along down there, and there was always be an RT or a Roadrunner or whatever on its side or upside down, or there was. My friend Dave LeClaire was a cop. Dave the Indian. He runs a super stock car, and he got his first Hemi out of a '69 Charger, Hemi Charger that was upside down under the Gowanus that they stripped. They rolled the car over. They stole the Dana out of it. They stole the Dana and the 4-speed out of it. They left everything else, and he got his first 426 Hemi out of that thing. Let's see. Mopar Man 1978. I feel bad too, but people keep living in an area that flood over every year in the same places, just like in the Ozarks. No, this was different. This was different. This was a flash flood, and I have no idea how this happened. Okay, I have no idea how this happened, but it was a flash flood. They got 6 feet of water in like 10 seconds, and like that's not an exaggeration. It was like it rained. Okay, I forgot what they said. It was like 17 inches of rain in X amount of time, and it was more than twice than they had ever previously recorded. And I guess this rain all just rolled off the side of one of the hills over there, and it picked the low ground, and it all rushed in at one time. There was a guy working in a Dollar General. This is the only part of it that I heard about. He was working at a Dollar General, and he said that he saw water coming in from under the door. Okay. And he said before he could even think about what was going on, the door had busted loose and the water was up to his neck. That's how fast this happened. So, yeah, I mean, this isn't normal. This wasn't normal flooding. John Mounts, why no love for the A100, A108? Why? What do you mean no love? I love those things. They're not around. They're absolutely not around. And I gave up trying to find a decent one to work with. So yeah, but no, I have plenty of love for them. I just don't have any in my world. Hey Tony, how did you protect your cars from getting stolen in New York back in the day? I had my ways. Nobody messed with my cars. Tony, do you have any cool stories finding 426 Hemis? Oh man, individual stories of finding 426 Hemis. I had that. I told that one story about the swap meet where I had the fight with Robert Aschiara. Um, I don't know. I'll see if something comes to me. But I mean, I did over the years. I did find them in odd places. Um, Maxwell Dick Dastardly. Tony, I may have already asked you. I need one TRW 60 over 1101 440. Those are great pistons, but I know those pistons well. They're great, but no, I don't have one. I don't have one. Bronco being A100 vans are cool, Valiant based. No, they were their own thing. They were the same. They were the same thing as the Ford O'Connell line of the day with the flat windshield. Right, those trucks had the greatest driver position. The O'Connell lines and the A100s and everything, because the windshield was like right here. The steering wheel was like this, right? They were great. They were fun, and the engine is behind you in a doghouse right over here. Raincoats, thank you. Love the Slant 6 live. Didn't get to watch it until after. Was there ever a larger slant plane by Chrysler? Also, when will there be an LA V8 live? We could do that soon. We could definitely do an LA V8 live. I've just been in, and because of Plane Z, I've just been in a very Slant 6 kind of head, so that's why I did that. But yeah, we could do that. Foxfire wood burning. Would you prefer a 417 Donovan or a 426 Hemi? Period. Parts. Well, I mean, it depends what you're going to use it for, right? But the Donovan you really couldn't use on the street. The Donovans would not hold water. You know, the liners. You know, it's an aluminum block with steel liners, right? And they're sealed with O-rings, giant O-rings. And the Donovans would never hold water. And for drag racing use, the Donovan's got I mean, hardcore drag racing use. The Donovan's got a problem where you can't drop the individual main caps to check. So between rounds, it's normal to drop the pan and go through the bearings, and you can't do that effectively with a Donovan. So it would be a 426 style motor for me, my choice. Sloppy. Oh, Matt. Okay, Sloppy Mechanics. We got to get you on here. Matt, send an email, right, to Kathy at Uncle Tony's Garage at gmail.com. Uncle Tony's Garage at gmail.com, and just put sloppy in the subject, and she'll set up a date with you, and we'll get you on here. So your channel, right? So when I got so I knew nothing about YouTube, right? When we started this, I mean, like I literally knew nothing about YouTube, and your channel was one of the ones that I was watching regularly, right? Not to copy you or anything like that, but because I was just trying to absorb, you know what I mean? And I loved what I still do, you know. I'll still check out that 8 for 8 was like phenomenal, okay? But yeah, your channel was one of the ones that like just inspired me. Just, you know, it's hard to explain exactly. Like I said, it wasn't a matter of trying to copy you or anything, but your channel was inspirational towards you know, when I said, all right, this is the kind of thing I want to do. This is the kind of person I want to be on YouTube, right? So, you know, but yeah, get a hold of Kathy and let's set up something and let's get you on here live. Let's see. Wheelie King, Tony, a couple weeks ago, I asked you about a stumble surge problem on my 383. Mentioned I had a big BBD. You said no, it's a Holly. Nope, Carter BBD, 1.5-inch bore. I finally solved it. No, bro, you don't have a BBD. Well, okay, maybe you do have a BBD, but it's attached to it's bolted to an adapter, because the footprint on a 383 2-barrel intake manifold is much larger than the footprint on a 318. So than a BBD. The BBD has the same footprint as the earlier Stromberg carburetor. Stromberg had 3 bolts. The BBD has 4, but the footprint is the same, right? So maybe you have an adapter that bolted your BBD onto a 383, but it definitely isn't the stock carburetor. Sloppy, awesome, thank you. I have had many people tell me that I inspired them to create a channel and or work on the cars. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, you're one of the best. You're absolutely one of the best. Terry Tubbs, what happened with JJ the Boss or whatever his name is? He never followed through. He never followed up. James Martin, those glasses look like Virgil Exner designed them. Pre-heart attack Virgil Exner or post-heart attack Virgil Exner? Because they're 2 different animals, right? Pre-heart attack Virgil Exner was like into some very beautiful, he made some beautiful things, right? Like timeless, beautiful things. Post-heart attack Virgil Exner, he went there, okay? So, you know, he comes some really crazy shit. So which one is it? Let's see. You think that couch came from the house of Wang? Pre-heart attack. Okay, I'll take that. Brad G, I have heard that 426 Hemis throw rods through the passenger side of the block. Do you know if this is true? And if so, is it because the metal on that side is thinner? No, the metal is exactly the same on both sides. But the engine's rotation, right? So you got a picture now. It's rotating, okay, and when it's going to kick a rod, right? It's slinging everything in that direction towards the passenger side. Wheelie King, Tony, it says Carter right on the carb body. I can send you a pic, bro. Oh, Jesus. All right, I'll tell you what. Wheelie King, I am going to run, okay? I am going to run right now into the shop, okay? I'm going to be gone for about 30 seconds, right? So everybody just stay put, okay? And I will be right back. All right, that is a Carter BBD. Huh? Is that what your carburetor looks like? You, Jackman, I love how the studio's on site now. We have a couple of studios here. We're expanding. We're doing more and more stuff. Donna Wayne English, how are you feeling about the cold you got from Dallas? The next day, I was fighting it. I fought it. I beat it. I won. I used to sit on a couch like that, and they'd bring 5 girls out for me to pick from. Chris Greenaway, how you doing, brother? Henry Scott, I'm sure you know about the 6-cylinder Cleveland it was made. There were a bunch of engines like that built for comp eliminator back in the day. Lots of builders did oddball stuff like that. But yes, I saw that one. Dean Stevenson, pistol grip shifter on the Miata. No. And Keystone wheels. Oh, I'll tell you. Well, Pumpkin, Tony, I got to replace my windshield on a 65 Dart. Haven't seen any videos or pics online on how to replace the windshield and seal. You know someone who can help pics or steps? No, I mean, I do them. I hate doing them. It's a miserable experience. But I'm trying to think who. There's got to be a video out there someplace, right? Maybe I should do a video on it. Ralph Solentano. It's my brother Ralph. Mr. Toontown. Stop signs weren't red until 1954. Oh, no shit. Hang on. Stop signs weren't red until 1954. Before 54, they were red. Oh. Ralph Thomas. Tony, I know a guy who has 5 of those 3-bolt 2-barrel carburetors. What are they worth? Nothing. yellow. Oh, Ralph, yeah, I totally don't understand, but that's okay. But that's the way it's supposed to be. You are operating at a higher level than the rest of us. I know that. Let's see. Don, when you show Don is watching from Ohio and you're in Pennsylvania. Nice. You guys are triangulating with me here in Tennessee. John Wilburn, Tony, you have how many broken windshields? You should do that video. The windshield in the 67 GT looks like a kaleidoscope. Bro, it adds to the experience of driving the car. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Virgil Exner, was he too advanced for us? Is he operating at a higher level? Why did he what he was? Why he did what he did? Ali, what are your thoughts on 440 source stroker kits? Which stroker kit would you suggest for 400 block turbocharged? I really couldn't give you an answer. I can't give you a recommendation on that. I've never heard any bad things about the 440 source kits. I would hit forums. I would ask a bunch of different people for an opinion on that, but I don't have one. Exner was genius and reckless at times too, like my brother Ralph. Wheelie King, you back? Okay, Tony. I know what the BBD you showed is. Very, very familiar. This one was a new one for me as well. Not trying to be stubborn, man, or pain in the ass. I'm just saying there was a bigger version of the BBD. Oh, bro. Listen, I mean, honestly, right? I've been doing this stuff since the 70s, right? I mean, a long time. I have the only 2-barrel carburetors I have ever seen, right? Are the Stromberg, the BBD, the Holly, right? And then, of course, on 6-packs, the 2300 series Hollies. That's it. I mean, if you're telling me there's a bigger BBD, if you're telling me that there's a different, bigger BBD than this one that has a footprint that's bigger than this, that fits on the 383 2-barrel intake manifold, I have never seen it. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it. I've never seen literature on it. I've never come in contact with anything that would indicate that that was ever possible. Eureka 7-way. He probably means the Chrysler BBDs. I've seen, but okay, it could be a Carter. It could be a Carter version of that Holly. No question about it. All right, let me rephrase it. The BBD, wait a second. BBD 4423. Okay. All right. I know what you're talking about. I've never heard that referred. I know that carburetor. I know the carburetor you're talking about. I've never heard of it referred to as a BBD. I'm gonna give you this. You're probably right. I'm probably wrong. I'm being serious. You're probably right. I never realized that the carburetor. Okay, so it's a Holly design. The carburetor that they used on the 362 barrels, the 383 2-barrels, the 402 barrels is a Holly design. There might have been a Carter version of it, and it didn't ring a bell. You're probably right. Okay. Evan M. I have decided carbs are dumb. Oh, I think now we see. Why did you do that, Evan? Because now we have to rethink. Me and almost everybody on this live right now. We all have to rethink everything we know about cars. Oh, geez. Well, thank you for that anyway, though. You think the motor curve carbs were Holley designed? No, it's the other way around. Holley bought that design, became the 4100 series. Then that's the carburetor, that's the Summit. So it was originally an Autolite, right? Then Holley bought it, changed things like the accelerator pump and a couple of other odds and ends. So they stopped producing it, and then Summit picked it up. And if you go buy a Summit carburetor today, that's what you get. So it's a cross between the Autolite and the Holley. And they're actually excellent carburetors. I didn't want to like it. You know what I mean? That Summit carburetor. Like, I mean, I'm serious. Right? I was like, I don't want to like this thing. This is a turd. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like anything about it. I hate this carburetor. You know what? I was wrong. Those things are excellent. I mean, excellent carburetors. Let's see. Carbs only make you fat. Yeah, wait. I mean, I've tried to avoid eating them. Wish they made the crossbar setup. Yeah, it was a good idea. I'm surprised that it was never developed. The crossbar was an inline 4-barrel. I don't know why they call it a crossbar, but it was an inline 4-barrel. And it was an interesting carburetor, but it never went anywhere. Dime piece, carbs are fuel if you ain't lazy. That's true. That's true. Wheelie King, I know, I agree. How can I send you a picture if it's a Holley that says Carter? Woo, I was surprised as well when I ran the carb number to find a kit and it came back as a BBD. Again, it could have been that style carburetor manufactured by Holley, but I've never heard it referred to as a BBD. But I could be wrong. I'm going to look into that, but not right now. Evan M., here's my biggest problem with carbs. I'm restoring an old car, and none of the stuff around the carb is any good. And how would that be any different if you were restoring a fuel-injected car? I mean, everything around the fuel injected, the fuel injection could be bad just as easily as everything around the carburetor being bad. Bro, nothing in this car thing is easy. You know what I mean? Nothing in the car world, you know, other than driving them, right? Nothing in the car world is easy. So, you know, especially you deal with older cars. What was that now? Evan C. Tony, would you ever go out to mess with TBI in any of your cars? I know you dislike fuel injection, but could a more simple setup be done for like daily driver usage? Okay, I have 2 Jeeps currently running that have TBI, right? I have the Eep Hero, and I got the Cherokee that I've been driving every day, a 94 and a 98. I'm no stranger to TBIs. I've used them. Now, on those, in that setup, in that situation, it's a factory setup. The technology and the parts are extremely well known, right, and available. Would I ever put an aftermarket TBI on a car like a Phytech or a Sniper or anything like that? Never. If the car's fuel injected, I'll deal with that. It's fine. I'm not going to go out of my way to avoid a factory fuel injected car. That's not a problem. But if the car is carbureted, I would never convert it to TBI. To me, that's absurd. They don't run any better. It doesn't make any more horsepower. It doesn't get any better gas mileage. The only benefit that it has is quicker starting, right? Yeah, they'll start quicker. I'll give you that. And less chance of vapor locking. Other than that, there is no advantage, but there's much more complication. Okay, Dimepiece, thank you. I got a top dead center locator to make sure my balancer is right on. It's adjustable by a screw in the middle. So how does it show TDC if I can affect the stop? Okay, no, what you're doing is you're going to come almost to TDC, just about to TDC, right? You set the stop. Rotate the motor back the other way, right? To where it just contacts the stop. Go back and split the difference right there, and there's your top dead center. M1W24. I love TBI and fuel injection. And these muggy summer days, dog days of summer here in Tennessee aren't fun with the humidity. No, today is not fun at all. Jonathan Couchy, thank you, sir. Hey, Tony, I poured in a set of 32 casting heads for my 318 build using tips learned from David Vizard. It's going in a 79 Power Wagon, putting a 340 manual cam, or the 68 cam, okay. Looking for 350 horsepower and lots of torque. Will I get it? Here's some dollars. Well, thank you for the dollars. And yeah, okay, so you're using the 68 340 4-speed cam. Those are small port fast burn heads. Yeah, you're going to get, 350 horsepower is probably the outer, really, seriously, probably the outer limits. You're going to need a very efficient exhaust to go with that. A long tube header. Yeah, I'm going to say like 350 horsepower is like the end of the rainbow for that basic combination, without you really going crazy to optimize it. And of course, I don't know what carburation you're putting on the thing. But yeah, you should be okay, man. You should be okay. It sounds good. Wesley Wine, have you owned any C bodies? Many, many, many C bodies. I just don't have any currently. Jonathan Briggs, where are the super mods? There's one right underneath you, man. There's Fubar putting a link to my merch. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Fubar. Wheelie King. Anyways, it was a low float level. The spec in the sheet that came with the kit was wrong. Raised the floats 50,000s, problem solved. I still love you, man. Thank you. Again, wasn't trying to be a pain in the ass or argue. No, not at all. No. Hey, I may have learned something just now from this interaction. So I got to go check. I've never, ever, ever heard of the Carter version of that being referred to as a BBD. But I could be wrong. I'm going to look into that. Tony, is that Ted Nugent's Corinthian leather couch? Ted bagged the zebra. That's why I want to send you pics. Yeah, don't stress it. I got factory shop manuals. I got everything going back to that era. There's no problem. I got all the illustrations I need. Curtis Randolph. Hey Tony, have you ever used one of those aftermarket trans kickdown cable setups? Never. I always use the factory style mechanical kickdown linkage. Let's see. Evan C, remember how you were live streaming at like 1 a.m. talking about moon landing being fake during the 24-hour challenge? I never said the moon landing was fake. People like to put words in my mouth. I never said that. What I said was, I don't know. I'm not convinced either way. Nick Stewart, would you put a carbed LS in one of your cars? If I had a Chevy, yeah, if I had a Chevy body, or I would definitely put an LS in. I don't have a Chevy body, so I have no reason to put an LS in anything. Mo Pardon, thank you. After staring at this couch, I think the XJ needs zebra seat covers. It certainly does. Mr. Will, thank you. UT, what is the biggest problem you see negatively affecting the hot rod and classic car hobby in the next 2 to 5 years? That's a good question, brother man. What is the biggest problem you see negatively affecting the hot rod and classic car hobby in the next 2 to 5 years? Parts availability and quality is like probably number one. I don't really see and okay, I don't want to get into economic stuff, right? I really don't want to get into economic stuff right now. I am gonna say the parts availability, not even the quality. I think parts availability is going to become a serious issue, and in a very short period of time, based on what I'm seeing as far as shipping goes. Okay, Jonathan. Okay, I have long tube headers. It was a two-wheel drive. This is the 318 with the 302 heads. Short wheelbase frame, so super light. Now 4x4, Edelbach Performance 600 CFM 4-barrel, also recurved distributor. That carburetor is small. I mean, I know, right? But I mean, it's what you're working with, but you're not going to get your full 350 out of that. I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get full 350 horsepower in that package with the 600. You would really need a 750, like an 800 CFM Edelbach is probably would optimize that combination as far as power goes, overall power goes. But for drivability and good mid-range response and economy and everything, you're fine, man. You got a good basic foundation. Just tweak and tune it until it purrs. Evan, if you could have any intake manifold on your 318, what would it be? Well, oddly enough, Evan, I can have any intake manifold I want on my 318. It's no problem. I don't have to wish for an intake manifold. Whatever intake manifold I choose to use, I can just get. So that's not a problem. Or I probably already got it. But it depends on the application. One intake manifold doesn't fit all applications. So, or all intended uses. So that's an impossible question to answer. What's for supper, UT? I had Indian. We went to the Indian, and I had a chicken tiki masala. Oh God, I ate too much of it. I ate way too much of it. I'm sitting here. I look myself. I see myself in the videos, and I'm like, you fat piece of shit. You got to lose 30 pounds. You got to, right? But at the same token, it's like, no, man, I got to eat, right? So I just pigged out at the Indian, and I'm stuffed. I'm absolutely stuffed. Dave Torres, Uncle Tony, can you explain too much cam and not enough vacuum problem? I'll tell you what, honestly, I come to the Wednesday night show and we'll do a whole thing on that because that's a question that keeps coming up over and over again. And I have the Wednesday night show is a tech show. It's like specifically for exactly questions like that. So pop in, David, pop in on Wednesday when Dallas and I are doing a show, and we'll have a whole discussion about that because that's another thing that like one answer doesn't cover all situations. And I could sit here for the next 20 minutes talking and just come Wednesday and we'll talk about that. I think that's a good topic for a whole video. Mo Parent 85, thank you. Hey Tony, if you go full analog on a 4-liter XJ, are any AMC inline distributors and intakes compatible? Or which ones would you need to get? Thanks for the conversation. Yes, yeah, you absolutely can convert to a conventional distributor. The intake manifolds for the AMC motors, like the 258, will work work, but the dowels are in different places. So you're gonna have to open up the slot for the dowel. So just slight modifications you have to make as far as that goes. If you're doing an XJ, the only problem you're gonna have now is if you decomputerize the XJ with a conventional distributor and a carburetor intake manifold, you're not going to get a signal for the transmission to shift. The AW4 it's an electronic shift transmission, so it uses it has two shift solenoids and a lockup solenoid. So you would actually have to give up your full automatic, and what I've seen guys do is wire in toggle switches to activate the gear. So you'll actually have to shift it manually using toggle switches. That's the downside of doing that, unless of course you've got a manual transmission. In that case, you won't have any problem at all. You can find torque flights with the AMC bolt pattern on them, the 6-cylinder bolt pattern, but they're not that common. Mr. Will, Tony, don't you miss the good hot pastrami sandwiches from New York? Yeah, but there's nothing in New York. There's nothing that would make me go back up there for a freaking pastrami sandwich. Tom Ashton, you can't stick a 7,000 RPM cam in a 5,000 RPM motor. I don't know what a 7,000 RPM cam is, and I don't know what a 5,000 RPM motor is. What? All classics restoration. Speaking parts availability, I had to go to 4 different stores for an ignition control module. Can't believe these stores don't keep one on hand. Bro, it's just the beginning. Seriously, it's just the beginning. Justin McCafferty, what do you think about the new Funny Car Chaos events? Honestly, I know nothing about them, but I've heard good things. When I say I've heard good things, I mean I don't have a secret like backdoor to No, I mean I looking at posts on Facebook and stuff like that. I've heard really nothing but good things, that they're getting good car turnouts and they're getting good crowds and the events are going off nicely. And I don't have any direct thoughts because I haven't really talked to anybody or been to one of these events or anything like that. But I mean, so far it's looking good. I am curious. I'd like to see how far along it goes. Ray Coates, Uncle Tony, do you like poutine? No, I've had it. I'm not crazy about it. Let's see. Made muscle. This is what we get for not keeping American auto parts manufacturing American. Everybody cried for decades. Parts are too expensive, so they bought cheap and rebuilt and built them companies up. We're done for. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, brother man, I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. Especially when you're dealing with when I was a mechanic, regular mechanic, I had a lot of customers that were price conscious. And I'm one of those people. I never hourly rated anything. I always just flat rated stuff because it was just so much simpler. So people say, well, I need a water pump in my car, and I tell them $200, right? And they'd be like, oh God, I can't go for that much. I've only got 165. All right, no problem. I'll do it for 165. But what that means is I have to buy the cheaper water pump, and they're like, I don't care. So that was a very common thing. If you go back to when I was like a regular mechanic, when I did it every day, back in the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s. So, I mean, I was as guilty of it as anybody else, buying cheaper parts, right? I was conscious that they weren't made here, but you know what? It gets the customer's car down the road. It's something that they can afford. I make my profit on it and we go. But yes, in hindsight, it was a terrible thing to do. I should have thought about it differently. We all should have thought about it differently, but we didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. right? So it's easy to sit back and say, on a bigger scale, right? It's easy when you're not in the middle of a transaction or a job, and it's easy to sit back and say, just buy American, just buy the more expensive part, right? That's easy to say. To be in the actual thing where you're dealing with a customer, you've got time constraints, cash constraints, everything else. You got to go with what gets the job done. And if it's a cheap part that's going to get the job done and keep the customer happy, well, then you go with it. Unfortunately, the quality of those cheap parts kept going down and down and down and down and down and down and down until finally we're where we are now. It was just the way it was. Miss Mike Old, $5. Thank you, sir. Turning into a parts hoarder. Yesterday, I bought at an estate sale shop with boxes full of vintage ignition, timing, and other parts, mostly Mopar. Congratulations. You can probably make a small fortune. You can probably keep what you need for spares and everything and make a small fortune off of eBay. All Classics Restoration. UT, will you be coming to the Mopar show in Farmington, North Carolina? No, sir. Great car show, good sized bender field, and drag racing all day. Building Plan Z, and I'll help pit it. You got to understand, right? One of the things that we're working on. Okay, so we're in growth mode in this channel. We're trying to grow the whole UTG thing. We're trying to get other channels going. But the biggest problem we have is a lack of actual manpower. We have friends that are willing to help here and there. That's not a problem. But to have people who can take care of my dogs, watch the house, just take care of like the daily things that go on, filling T-shirt orders and stuff like that. We don't have anybody yet. So going anywhere is a colossal pain in the ass. Even going to the track. When we go to the track, okay, it's like we leave the house. I get to the track. I get the thing unloaded as fast as I can. I get my lanes as fast as I can. I make a run. I make 2 runs. I do whatever I got to do. And the instant I'm finished, I will drive directly from the finish line up onto the trailer, tie the car down as fast as I can, and then run back to the house because by that time I have left my dogs alone for 3 or 4 hours. And they have all separation anxiety and who's pissed me here and who's having a fight there. So you understand, for me to do anything that's just even around the block for more than a couple of days, more than a day or two, is nearly impossible. So one of the things growing on this channel is that I need to find people to fill those positions. Right? And once I've got that done, then we'll be able to travel more and hit different events and so on and so forth. But right now, honestly, doing anything is nearly impossible, very difficult. Ali would, UT, did you work for a Mopar magazine? I started 2 Mopar magazines. I started High Performance Mopar when I worked for CSK Publishing, and I started Mopar Action magazine when I worked for Harris. B-Dan, 1, 2, 3, you need a doggy babysitter. Yes, I certainly do. Miss you broadcasting from the gas station. I know, I like that too. When Buff comes back, we'll probably do that again. Ryan Coates, thank you, sir. Uncle Tony, what are your thoughts and experience with the Pentastar 3.6 liter V6? Is it a good engine considering it's a bread and butter base? I'm not in the loop as far as regular repairs go and stuff like that, so I don't have any experience with them. Those engines came along after I got out of the regular. I went from the regular repair business to the parts business where I was only dealing with Mopar parts, vintage Mopar parts. That was for 10 years. I had my coffee houses at night, and during the day I sold, I dealt in parts. So during that period of time is when that engine came about and evolved and everything, and I have no experience with it whatsoever. Wheelie King, really enjoyed your panic button video, especially the part about conspiracies. I wish people could see and understand the BOM for EVs versus petrol. Then they would fully understand the EV push. It isn't green. Yeah, don't worry about the EV push. That's not going to happen. And as far as conspiracies go, cognitive dissonance. That's it. And you're not going to change it. Mike Skipworth. Hello, Uncle Tony in the room. How are you doing, Mike? GM, hey, Uncle Tony, what's the story behind the Dell's Cadillac service shirt? Was that an old employer? Also, I sent you an email last week. Kathy takes care of the emails, and she's way behind, right, on emails. A viewer sent me a bunch of those, the Dell's Cadillac shirts. Really? Kind of like right after we first got started. And yeah, they sent a few of those. They're great shirts, you know. Eureka said, "Wait, Tony, I only just now thought to ask, do you need to have the crank and camshaft at top dead center to change the timing chain, or easy enough to leave it as is and just line up the gears to the marks on the gears?" Well, when you line up the marks to the gears, you're at top. When you go dot to dot, you're at top dead center of the exhaust stroke of the number one cylinder, number one cylinder. That's dot to dot. And yes, you should do that. Yo, Tony. So from Squirt McGirt. Yo, Tony, do you have any experience with the McCuney carbs on 80s Dodge Mitsubishi? Oh, they were a pain in the ass. That thing is a spider web of vacuum lines and we're lost. You are not the only one, my brother. Those were extremely finicky, extremely difficult carburetors to work with. They were never happy. Even when they ran right, which was such a rare occasion, they still weren't really right. They always had a little vibrations and they always had a little stumble. They'd move around. Yeah, you're having problems with the carburetor, and so did everybody else who ever used one. I wish I could give you like advice, and say, oh, well, just check this and check that and check the other thing. No, there are 6,000 things to check, and there are so many variables. Good luck with that carburetor. If I were you, I would try to find something a little simpler and convert to that. Andrew Oliver, Tony, Andrew. B Dan 1324. Have you seen Newcomer Racing's turbo 4-liter Jeep engine build? Yes. Broke a record and makes almost 900 horsepower on the dyno. Those big cast iron sixes have a great untapped potential. Yeah, I did. I actually saw. I saw some of that. I didn't watch all of it. It's on my mental list of things to go back to check out. But yeah, I did. Newcomer Racing's got some neat 4-liter stuff. And I know it's an iron. It starts out as an iron engine, but I'm pretty sure they use an aluminum Edelbrock head on that. Mid muscle. I honestly learned a new respect for the price of parts after working at Dart. Yeah, a lot goes into parts manufacturing. That is true. Anthony Pernas, the Ford variable inventory 4-barrel carb as bad as they say. It's actually worse. Actually worse than they say. John Blossoms, Tony, any thoughts on a small block Mopar timing chain tensioner? They use them on the later motors. They use them on Magnums. Yeah, they work, but the timing chain stretch isn't really a major issue on a small block. But they did use them on the later motors. So if it makes you feel better to take up the slack, find one and bolt right onto your LA motor. Ford LTD 1976 UTG. Have you ever worked on a Dodge St. Regis? Several of them back in the day. Oh my God, the Ford Venturi carb. Yeah, the VV carb, man. Worst carb ever. It's the truth. David Coe, you were drunk the day your mom got out of prison. That's, I mean, why not, right? Was she drunk? I hope she was. Wheelie King, how many degrees of crank rotation do you feel acceptable between crank and distributor rotor when diagnosing timing chain condition? Right next to it, how many degrees of crankshaft rotation? Oh, God. It's a hard one to answer. That's honestly, that's a hard, that's it. Like, how can I explain it to you? You're not going to get an accurate measurement in crankshaft degrees, right? With the lifters all in place and push rods and rockers all bolted down with the camshaft loaded, because you'll be checking for you'll be going back and forth on the cam, right? On the crank on the crankshaft, right? But the resistance is going to spring a little bit, but you can't really go by that. You know what I'm saying? You can't really go by that. You'll know, right? You put a wrench on the harmonic balancer bolt, right? And you can go like this back and forth, and you don't see the distributor move at all. You don't see the rotor move at all. You got a lot of slop. But to go by degrees, it's hard because it's going to be, you try to measure the degrees both ways, right? And it's going to be affected by how the cam is loaded down by the lifters, by the valve train. Mike Smith, $5. Thank you, sir. Switching my 71-340 Roadrunner over to points. What were your thoughts on single and dual? Your 71-340 Roadrunner came originally with a single point distributor. Joe K, didn't they have recalls on those early 80 Imperial St. Regis to swap out the faulty EFI for a carb? Yes, they did. Benjamin C, UT, any concerns using a new roller cam if you are reusing stock lifters and a Magnum? No, you won't have any problem. Also, are valve springs being an issue like lifters are right now? That I don't know. I couldn't give you an answer. I don't know. Congrats on the 200,000 subs. Thank you. You go back to that distributor, the degrees of distributor rotation. How many degrees of crankshaft to look for timing chain slop. You also have to realize that the distributor itself is going to have some slop back and forth, right? So in other words, like the tang that it fits into the slot, you've probably got a degree and a half, 2 degrees right there in slop. Now, when the engine is running, when the engine is rotated, and everything is loaded, so and the distributor is being spun, well, that plane disappears. You know what I mean? That slop disappears. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like you really can't go by how many degrees. Yeah, does that make any sense? FX2 Mark 7. Congrats on the 200,000 subs. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Wheelie King. If I spin it backwards to 15 degrees before top dead center, switch direction, spin it well past 15 degrees after top center before the rotor moves. I'm thinking 30 degrees is a bit excessive. Yes, 30 degrees is definitely a bit excessive. I thought that you're trying to figure out the actual number of, you know what I mean, like the relationship in degrees between the two. But no, if you're only going by that, yeah, 30 degrees is a lot. Mr. Wiltoni was 1978, the last year of production for a 440. They cast them into 79, but it was the last year of putting them in cars. Parker Bandy, can you give me the 101 on timing magnetos? Okay, well, you time a magneto the same way you time a distributor if you're using a timing light. Works exactly the same, no difference at all. If you're timing, if you're trying to set the initial timing, like on a race car, you would use what's called a buzz box that will buzz. So you're going to turn the rotor hard in the direction of rotation, and then move the magneto body right until the points just barely open. Okay, and you would use either a buzz box, or you could even use a test light to tell you that, right? But that's how that's done. The important thing when you set the timing, when you set the initial timing on a magneto, is that you turn it hard you turn the rotor hard and hold the rotor hard in the direction of rotation while you turn the body. And like I said, then at that point you get your buzz box or your timing light to tell you exactly when the points are opening, and that's your point of fire. Led Zeppelin, Werewolf Girl 73, what's happening? You're coming to us from Spa, Belgium. Wow. Nice. Are you racing there yourself, or are you just going to spectate? Brian Power, have you ever heard of offsetting a cam by a tooth one way or the other to alter the power curve? I feel like it was mentioned in a video at one point. I talked about on a live, I talked about how I had a 2.2 charger. And I used to leave the timing belt cover off, and I would move it. I would advance and retard a tooth on that belt drive. Right, it was an 8mm belt. But I've never done it with an actual with a timing chain. With a timing chain, the one tooth would be way too many degrees. You know what I mean? At that point, you use an offset keyway, or you use a multi-position keyway, or you use an offset dowel to move the relationship of the cam. But a whole tooth would be way out of the question. Tom Ashton, what happens if you take a stock hydraulic lifter cam and stick roller lifters in it? I mean, if you take a stock flat tappet cam and put roller lifters in it, it won't work. The roller, okay, the lobe on a flat tappet cam, the roller has such a small contact surface that the lobe will barely open and close the valve. Like it'll just, you'll get like no degrees of duration. You'll get the lift would be the same, right? Yeah, lift would be the same, but you would have no duration because of the difference in diameter between the roller and the bottom of a flat tappet. So it actually won't work. It won't work. Junior K, why do some cams have 4 degrees built in? What is the advantage of this? It saves you. Okay, so the cam grinder has determined that this profile is going to work best for the characteristics of this engine, but it may soften up bottom end performance too much. And in that case, what they'll do is they'll just automatically, rather than you having to degree the cam in, they'll and advance the cam, they'll save you the trouble and put the grind in the 4 degrees advance. So there's no magic to it. It's just they're saving you the trouble of having to advance the cam. Dan's Garage, thank you, sir. Tony, I've been researching camshafts for my Mustang build. I've noticed that generally the lower the LSA, the more low end power it makes, and the better it sounds. What are the downsides? Just low vacuum. Oh, God, let's go back to that question. I've noticed that generally the lower the LSA, meaning like 106, 107, 108, the more low end power it makes. Not necessarily. When you tighten up the LSA in a motor, you get very punchy power, you get very peaky power. But cam timing, going back to that previous question about why do they put 4 degrees in? Well, you'll find that cams with tight LSAs are generally advanced from the factory. Like if you're going to find something that's advanced 4 degrees, it's generally going to be a motor with a short LSA. Where a motor with a longer 112, 114, whatever, those will generally be straight up. So I hope that answers your question there. I just got a message. Vice Grip Garage is moving to Tennessee. Have you talked to him to see where? No. I talked to Derek probably 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. We were talking about Tennessee and all of that. But that was the last time I talked to him. I don't know where this friend of mine got that information, but evidently Vice Grip is moving to Tennessee. Squirt McGurk, the Lunati camera I got from my Oldsmobile has an LSA of 112 and 6 degrees advanced built in. But again, you see, it's up to the individual. That's why you always got to talk to your cam grinder, because they all have different ideas on what's going to make the best power given the engine's combination. And I would guess that your Oldsmobile there is probably a very low compression motor. Am I off on that? It's probably like an 8-to-1 compression motor. Sue Lob, I missed a live from the gas station parking lot with Uncle Buff. As soon as Uncle Buff gets back, we will go back and do a couple from the gas station. I missed it too. It was fun. Let's see. John Wilburn, people move south to Tennessee now because Virginia and North Carolina are ruined, so they skip past us. Yeah, I hate to say that, but it's true. Mr. Will, Tony, crazy question. What was the last year for Plymouth pickups? That is a crazy question. I have no idea. Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe somebody's got John Wilburn, I'm sure, knows the answer to that question. Well, you go back. Squirt McGurk, compression ratio on Olds V8s varies highly over the years, 69 to 70 with 10 to 1 or higher, but I had a 76 350 that was as low as 7 to 1. Well, the reason I say that is because for a 112 degree cam to have 6 degrees of advance built in, it means that they're trying to overcome a crutch. Okay, so generally speaking, because a 112 degree cam is going to give you a lot of more low end cylinder pressure than obviously a tighter one, but to advance it even further means that they're trying to overcome some sort of real crutch or some sort of real problem. And advancing the cam is a crutch to low compression. So that's why I asked, what's the actual application of that? Because, so let's say, a 350-inch Oldsmobile, right? With that 112 cam. So at 10.5 to 1, that 112 cam straight up is going to give you X amount of cylinder pressure. It's going to be X amount of instant throttle response and torque. To get that same performance with that same cubic inch engine at 7.5 to 1, you've got to way advance that cam to bring up that low end cylinder pressure to give you that same hit. Does that make any sense? Um, Jim, Uncle Tony, are Unilug mags as dangerous as some people say, or is it an old wives' tale? The problem with Unilug mags is that people use the wrong lug nuts with them. Okay, the shank on a Unilug mag, the shank on a on the lug nut for a Unilug mag, using those washers, has to be precise. Okay, it has to be a light crush on the washer. And when I say light, I mean very light crush on the washer. What happens is people use either, right, because they don't know any better, they will use either too short of a shank, which really crushes in the washer, and that ruins the register or that washer fits into in the lug, or they'll use one that doesn't crush the washer at all, and so even though the lug is tight, there's no crush on the washer to keep it steady in that register. So as you're driving down the road, it's always vibrating, it's always moving around, and eventually wallers out the register. So Unilug wheels, if they're used with the correct lug nuts for them, no, they're fine, man. I mean, I've used them countless times over the years, and there's never any issue. But just the same, I've seen so many of them where the register, for the oblong washer to fit into is just totally foobarred because it was either too tight or too loose. Actually, come to think of it, at my house, on the side of the house, my garden hose is wrapped around a Unilug Krager SS. And the reason I didn't use it back when I first got it was exactly because of that. Because the registers were all wallowed out. Somebody had used the wrong lug nuts on them. Let's see. Anthony Perna. Tony, I've been using my distributor machine. I have a 65 Mustang 289 distributor. The mechanical advance starts to advance at 3,000 RPM, but maxes out around 12 degrees at 6,000. Don't you want it all in by 3,000? Yeah, I want it all. Okay, if I'm setting it up for myself, I want it all in by 2,000 RPM, by 1,800 RPM. I want all the timing in, because the only reason I want to back that timing off is for easy starting. If it wasn't for having to start hot engines, there would be no reason to have, in my opinion, there would be no reason to have advance. You would just lock the damn thing out and start out at 32, 34 degrees, whatever it happens to be. So your springs, Anthony, your springs on that distributor are way, way out of line. You want all the advance in by, call it 2,000 RPM. You want all the advance in by 2,000 RPM. Joseph Davidson, did anyone ever build high-performance slant sixes like Ford racers did with straight six and Cleveland heads? No, I don't know of any hybrid type of slant sixes like that. It's possible that somebody has at some point, but I don't recall ever hearing about that. Anthony Perna, cool, thank you, that makes sense. I was told in school that if you shift gears and it bogs slightly, you have too much timing in it. No, opposite. Opposite. If it bogs, you have not enough timing in it. Mike and Willow Connolly, what about the Slant 6 Hyper Pack? Mike and Willow, what about it? I don't know what the question is. Buff Del Campbell, Buff, we need you. Buff, UTG and America needs you as more than ever, Buff. Wasn't there a Hearst Plant 6, K. Nelson? No, not that I ever heard of. Vic McMartin, Dynaflow transmissions. Those are a Buick only thing, and they were mostly it's a torque converter, right? A Dynaflow transmission is really just a management system for a torque converter. Anthony Perna, thank you. So I appreciate that. Thanks for answering all my questions, and congrats on 200,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Dime Piece, he's definitely moving to Tennessee. His Facebook page has a map showing his trip and caption confirms. How crazy is it? The best of mechanics on the planet in my backyard. Dime Piece, well, tell me what part of Tennessee is he moving to? What town? Buffalo Camp, I made a commitment to finish a project, then I'll be in the UTG studio again. I know you did, brother man, but you are missed. You are definitely missed. People miss our gas station lives. They miss just having you around. I miss having you around. But don't let that go to your head. Dr. Glitch Z. How you doing, Dr. Glitch? Oh, Michael O'Connelly was wondering if the Hyperpack was a common thing and was worth doing. The Hyperpack was a factory package that they offered in 1960 and 61 as a dealer package. And it consisted of a cam, the Hyperpack intake manifold, which everybody knows, the Carter AFB, a pair of cast iron headers, the 3-into-2 headers. I said the cam, right? And everybody might have been on one or two other things. They made good power. Is it worth doing? Probably not. Probably not. He's moving to Nashville. Hang on, I'm gonna text him. Hang on a second. It's gonna take me a second to find his. Number. Guys, hang on. I'm trying to find Vice Grip's number here. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I can't find his number. I'm gonna have to do it later, but that's cool. If he's coming to Nashville, that ought to be fun. Scott Speed Shop, what's happening, brother man? He posted a members-only video of his new shop and property in Nashville. Need a drag jet axle. Yeah. Studebaker Larry, that's what I'm hearing. Vice Grip Garage is moving to Tennessee. Scott Speed Shop, I heard you were talking about my video on electricity. Yes, I did. Well, somebody asked me about electrolysis, and I said that you had done a video on that. How hard are Dodge vans to work on? Are they harder to work on than Chevy vans? No, about the same. They're about the same. It's both a pain in the ass. Scott's Speed Shop. It's a super simple setup and it works awesome. You should definitely do a video on it. I probably will. I probably will. Studebaker Larry, awesome. Saw my soon looking around Townsend, Tennessee. Come to Tennessee, man. This is the place. Hang on one second, because now I'm curious. July. Oh, here it is. All right, hang on. I found his number. Okay, I just texted him. Let's see what he has to say. Mopar Den says Vice Grip Garage has a video on land in North Dakota on his Vice Grip Lodge channel. Yeah, but evidently he's got pictures of a shop and land in Tennessee. So, Ethan Manley, Uncle Tony, I just say you got 200,000 subs. Thank you, sir. Header wrap, power or problem? Definitely more problem than power. UT 318 non-magnum roller motor, same cam and header wrap on stainless headers. Don't bother with header wrap. Trust me when I tell you, you will never see the difference. It's complicated. It's just it makes a mess out of things far more than it makes any power. Oh, yeah. Kathy says he posted on his Facebook page an hour ago that he's moving to Tennessee. I commented, "Welcome, Kathy." So, yeah, that's funny. We got two. See now I feel like now I'm the small YouTuber on the block because I got Whistle and Diesel a couple of miles from here, right? He just moved here, and then I got Vice Grip moving here, and it's like now I'm like the little YouTube, Nashville guy. I can't win. I can't win. Hurry up! I need more subscribers. We got it. We got to double up the. With 200,000, we need 400,000 pronto. Roger Isbell, Tony, posted your site in my Mopar group for about a year now. Gave you a lot of subscribers. Congrats on the 200,000. Thank you. Joe K, need Kathy back on the live. She's right there. Brian Power, have you ever heard of using an expansion pipe like for a two-stroke bike on a car as a tuning type? It will not work. No, it won't work. It works on a two-stroke because the exhaust has a two-stroke engine has a very low velocity exhaust. So that expansion chamber creates a vacuum behind the exhaust pulse, and or it amplifies the vacuum behind the exhaust pulse, and that's that's on a two-stroke. On a four-stroke, you have a completely different dynamic. Big and easy. I love Vice Grip Garage, but your experience trumps both channels. Yeah, but they're both more entertaining. Yeah, I know. I got more experience than either of them combined, but they're both more entertaining than I am, and I'm honest enough to admit that. Mr. Tony, what was the difference between the Plymouth Poly 318 and the 350 offered in the 5078 Plymouth Furies? The Poly 318 is just out as a Poly 318, the ancestor of the LA motor, and the 350 was a B motor. It was a big block. Two completely different things. Justice Sicko. Are early LA blocks stronger than later? And if so, what is early? Poly blocks weigh about 40 pounds more than a later LA motor. But from that point, no, they're all pretty much the same. Hey, Tony, 672 E Galaxy. Hey, Tony, I think you're going to get a 31.56% boost in subs. I don't know. Well, I'll take that. How do you arrive at 31.56%? It's crazy how YouTube takes 40% off of each live chat donation. I mean, yes, it is, but I mean, let's be fair. Like we wouldn't have this platform if it wasn't for YouTube. It is a business. YouTube does facilitate the transactions. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously it would be great if we got 100%, but I mean, it's not a bad deal. We couldn't do it without them. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that. They earn their percent. Your experience with distilled water and the cooling system. It's not a thing. Wheelie King. Actually, here I go arguing with UT again. Two-strokes scavenge too well. The expansion chamber forces the intake charge that has made it past the exhaust port back into the combustion chamber. How do you get that, man? How does the expansion chamber, right? Because you're going from a small hole to a big hole, right? How would that force anything back into the... Eminem, you want your vehicle built into a Decepticon. Expansion chamber is at a lower pressure. Well, they call it an expansion chamber because it actually works with sound waves. Yeah, sonics. Wheelie King, sonics. See, I know, I get that. Seriously, Tony, you're in my world now. Been tuning two-strokes for 40 years. Okay, talk to me. Okay, my understanding of the two-stroke combustion process, right, is that the exhaust event is very short duration. And because it's such a short duration, it doesn't have a strong enough pull on the intake. So that expansion chamber is there to create a larger vacuum for a bigger pull across the ports. I mean, am I off? I don't know. I'm asking you. You're the guy who tunes these things. Zero says nicotine gum super hard to light. And thinking about smoking them, too much work. Yeah, I can imagine. Pushes the charge back a bit. Pulse wave. Okay. The sound wave travels through the expansion chamber, hits the end, and travels back and pushes the charge back into the cylinder. Oh, okay. See, and when I was younger, I had a lot of two-stroke bikes. Very into Kawasaki triples. I had Denko chambers on an H1 that was just an absolute beast. But I mean, honestly, I never really got into the tuning of them. It was just, I mean, tuning beyond like jetting and stuff like that. I never got past that. So yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. Okay, all right, Willie King. Thank you. We have the smartest people here. Well, I swear to God, we really do. We have the smartest people in this group. Yes, I know that they're generally tuned for a particular RPM. Beer Gibson 3100. Did I hear you say that you were going to be at the Sykes and Drake Strip in a few weeks? September 5th. We'll be there September 5th with Plan Z. Vic McMartin, Racer Brown had a shop in Baltimore around the corner from where I grew up. Tony reminds me of Racer Brown. Well, that's a compliment. Thank you very much. Mr. Well, Tony, what was the most iconic 60, 70 race car or specialty factory hot rod that has not yet surfaced that people are still looking for? I know that people were looking for the California Charger for a while, and it turned out that was cut up for scrap. Gene Adams' Double Eagle was the object of research for a while. I would like to know what happened to the terrifying Tornado. I'd like to know where that thing ended up. because I couldn't see that car being repurposed as anything else. So I would love to know where that thing ended up. Zero data. Tony, could you jog 1 mile under 20 minutes without stopping? Uh, I don't know because I would drive that distance. All right, hang on. Vice Grip just texted me back. He says, "Yes, sir, it's official." Hang on. Congrats. Hang on a second. Congrats. We. Okay, so Vice Grip says, "Yes, sir, it's official. He is definitely moving to Nashville." So Vice Grip, Derek is going to be my neighbor. You know what? I'm looking forward to it. I think that's going to be a blast. I just told him we were doing a live. Let's see if he pops in here. Your two favorite channels? Um, Dan sure is kicking butt on the 57. Oh man, Frank's Garage. I watched him. I watched the video the other night. Well, last night was it? I watched that video of him welding up on that 57, right? And it was like an hour worth of welding, and I was like, you know what? If he put this video out, I feel obligated to watch it. But I mean, he really did a nice job. If you guys want to see some seriously good home garage basic hand equipment fabrication, D&D Garage, and go watch that video he did on the 57 convertible he's building. I thought it was awesome. I love everything those guys do. Dan and Danny are just the nicest people. They're the most down to earth. Like they are what we all should aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? They're in the garage, they're living the dream, they're doing their thing, and zero fucks given. Send it. They're great people. And yeah, that video, man, you want to watch like real first class, real first rate home fabrication. Watch that video we put out yesterday. Dented Robot, hey, get D&D Speed Shop in on this. They usually pop in. They didn't pop in tonight. They might be busy or doing something. John Sabo, Uncle Tony, enjoying your stream. Keep up the great work. John from New Jersey. Thank you. Zero data. I mean, the elephant in the room is Tony's blatant disregard for his health. Brother man, I'm 60, okay? I'm 60 years old. I'm in good shape, right? I mean, my blatant disregard for my health. Yeah, maybe I have a blatant disregard for my health, but I'm still going strong. I have no problems. I work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week by myself. I have no health problems. So I may have disregard for it, but you know what? It hasn't hurt me yet. numbnuts. Hate to say it, but DD Speed Shop is usually the only thing that can make me miss a UT video. Why do you hate to say that? I would watch his video before I'd watch my videos too. Dr. Glitch Z, to run a quarter mile, what do you prefer, manual or automatic? Depends what you're doing. If you're bracket racing, I'm automatic all the time. If you got a torque challenged engine, a small engine, heavier car, manual transmission, stick. If you've got more power than you know what to do with, always an automatic. MJ Cuddy, Tony, I left you a comment on your video about panic. You ought to read it to everyone. Can you repost it here, because that video has got like 1,800 comments. I'm never gonna find your comment. Frank's Garage, I can only stay on my feet 6 or 7 hours a day max. Arthritis getting the better of me. Wish I could do many more. I have arthritis everywhere. Every motorcycle crash I ever had, I feel it. Every morning I wake up and I have flashbacks to all of these things where I broke and bent and folded and spittled and mutilated everything. And so yeah, man, I can relate. But you know what, bro? Seriously, I know arthritis is a bitch. I deal with it every day. You just keep your eyes forward. Just keep moving. If you keep moving, your body is just going to go along with the program. You know what I'm saying? Your body is the slave to your mind, not the other way around. And that's where people start to get. That's where people start to get screwed up, especially when you get older like us. Okay, when you get older like us, people they let their body take over, and they let what's happening with the body control what their thoughts are. But you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to go the other way around. Your thoughts have to control your body too. You know what I'm saying? So I know it hurts. It hurts me too, right? Believe me, I tell you, it hurts. But I don't let my body take over my mind. My mind always has to steer the body. And if the mind says get up and go do that, the body gets up and it goes and does that. And that's how you keep moving. But that's the other thing too, right? You can't take any time off, right? Like, okay, if you start working, okay, if you start working, you can't stop working, right? It's not like when you were, let's say, 20 or 30 years old, right? And you say, well, I'll work a desk job for a year or two, or I'll do something easy. When you get to our age, you can't do that. If you're going to work, you have to get up and work every single day. And if you're not working, you at least have to duplicate that effort, that motion of your body. So go take a long walk someplace, do something, whatever it is that you're going to do, right? That isn't, but you can't not keep moving. You got to be like the shark. You got to be like the shark. Just keep moving or you die. And honestly, that's the secret to it all. Tom Ashton, heck, I'm 68 and run a Suzuki 500 ATV. Okay. Getting old isn't for sissies. Nope. New City Carpet, I'm afraid to stop working because it keeps me in shape. Yeah, that seriously. Frank's Garage. Customer crashed this bike 8 weeks ago. Woke up 2 weeks ago. 75-ish years old. David Cole, you're 81 and you ride your paint hit everywhere. I got a lot of scars from bar fights and working on junk cars. Okay, hang on a second. Second week in September, Lewisburg. All right, so he's moving to Lewisburg. This is Vice Grip. And he'll be here the second week in September. Okay. 40 miles from. Okay. All right, so yeah, so it's official. Vice Grip's moving to Lewisburg, which is about 40 miles south of me over here. So it'll be very interesting having him in the neighborhood. I'm looking forward to it. Tony, ever try the vapes? No, I mean, I think all of that LGQBW XYZ stuff is fine. You know what I mean? And they could vape and all that. It's just not my thing. You know what I mean? Right? But I encourage other people to do it. James Hayes, I'm 56 and I've been saying that exact line Uncle T just said, gotta become a shark, keep moving or die. Bro, that is the absolute positive truth. You know, if I had to give, because I see it all the time, like people like, I can't believe how much energy you have. I can't believe it. No, I'm serious. I know a lot of you guys are my age, getting close to my age, right? Or some of you are older. But you know, for you guys that are in your like your 30s and shit, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to get old, right? You are going to get old. You can't stop it, right? I mean, getting old is better than the alternative. But if you want to get old, but not just be like a dweedy old barf mat laying around getting fat and rolling around in a friggin', you know, what do you call it? A mobility scooter or whatever it is, right? If you don't want that to be in your future, then you gotta work. You just gotta work and work and work and work and work and work and work. And your body will say, I'm important, I'm needed, keep this shit going. Okay? See what I'm saying? Because your body can't think for itself, right? But it does think for itself. Does that make any sense? You know what I mean? So it doesn't know why it has a purpose. It just knows that it has a purpose and it has to heal itself and it has to keep moving forward. And that's the key to it, man. I'm telling you, that is the key to it. If you want to have a good older life, you know what I mean? That's how you do it. You keep moving forward. You don't stop for anything. Brian Power, I do like Uncle Tony's mindset, even though even Frank Zappa, nearly dead from cancer, still called 8 hour. Yep, and hung on way longer than expected. Yeah, I mean Zappa was amazing. Zappa was a total workaholic. You know, and yeah, he hung on longer than anybody expected him to. Danny Boy, the older you get, the more dead people you know. Isn't that a fact? Um, Olive, I'm down with keeping moving. Sometimes I can't, UT. Then it's like rehab exercise to get strength back. Retirement is not an option. Retirement is death. Dented Robot. As a big fan, UTG, thanks. Thank you. Sean the Person, quick explanation of what stall is and why people raise and lower it. Stall is how high the engine can rev against the converter with the car stopped. That's what stall is. UT, torsion wires, ever see one snap? Couple of them over the years, but not many. It's not as common as you would think. Buffalo Campo, he's retired, but you're working. Yep. James Hayes, working on stuff distracts you from the aches and pains better than any meds. That's the absolute truth. And keeps your strength up. Absolutely. Joe Matthews, Michael, Tony, love the videos. Thank you, Joe. Coffee and Entenmann's is yep, Entenmann's is good. I had some crumb cake last night. Wheelie King, I've heard so many stories. My buddy retired 6 months later, he was dead. That's why I keep riding dirt bikes at 51, out of shape and half crippled. Do not stop moving. John Sabo, UT, what happened to that motor that was supposed to be dynamic tested, dynamo tested at Nick's garage? Is that still going to happen? I have no idea. That's between Lunar and Nick. I have no idea what's going on with any of that. Maybe John Wilbur knows. I know he keeps in touch with both of them. Good night, Squirt McGurk. Bronco McBain, Chris Fix is in here. He is in Tennessee also. Chris Fix, are you in here? Jokey, Hanselman's crumb cake with the knife left in the box. There's always a knife in the box. Gabriel DeMarco, hey Tony, did you find someone to drive the Miata at the track? Any time frame to test it out? There's an autocross event in Clarksville, that the kid Garrett that's doing the Junkyard Jet, one of the three doing the Junkyard Jet, he's supposed to take the car up there. It's just sitting inside waiting for him. Swedish sugar with all of this, I don't even know what that means, but it all looks good stuff, right? the YouTube play button. It's some monkeys, circle emojis, this thumbs up, 100%. Thank you, Swedish Sugar. John Robertson, hi UT, Nick's Garage, saw your post Friday night. I was cruising through. I had a few minutes. I just stopped in to say hi. Chris Fix was in here. All right. So guys, we're going almost 2.5 hours now, and I'm gonna call it night because I got to go to sleep early. I got to get up early. I got a lot of stuff to, a lot of ground to cover. So I'm gonna pull a plug on this. So as always, our mods, our awesome mods, John, Aries, Fubart, Zero. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of our subs and for helping to get us to that 200,000 mark. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Everybody who contributed with Super Chat, again, thank you. You keep the lights on here. You keep the bills paid. You keep gas in the cars. Thank you so much. And people who contributed just with good conversation and your good presence, thank you equally. So that's it. I'm going to pull the plug. I'm going to hit the end stream button. And Wednesday night, we'll see you at the Tech Talk, Wednesday night Tech Talk with Dallas, 7 o'clock. We'll be here. And I can't think of anything else. Excuse me. So I'm just gonna level it out. Good night, everybody, and thank you.